name is Katina Popolkis, and I am the Senior Education Strategist for Dell Technologies in Canada. Today's panel is on esports and cybersecurity and avoiding the hack. This panel, we're going to be talking about things from malware to DDoS attacks, and knowing that the world of online gaming is full of potential security risks. We join a panel of experts as they discuss the latest threats facing gamers and offer practical advice for protecting your devices and your personal information. And you never know, you might even discover a potential career path too. So enjoy the esports and security panel and avoid the hack. Game on, everyone. Welcome, everyone. It's great to have you here for our panel on esports and security. It is called Avoiding the Hack because we want our esports players to have fun. At the same time, we want them to be safe. So that's what our panel conversation is going to be about today, keeping our players safe, keeping our system safe so that everybody can enjoy. So to start with, we're going to have our panelists introduce themselves, and I'll pass it over to Marie to start.
Thank you. My name is Marie Belanger. I am the supervisor for the Academic Outreach and Cyber Skills Development team at the Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity. I am a passionate gamer myself, starting quite young, playing Command & Conquer, Red Alert, Tom Clancy Rainbow Six, Age of Empires with my dad and my brother on an old PC. The graphics of online games have come such a long way since. Now I enjoy playing tactical shooter games such as Gear of War, Tom Clancy Ghost Recon, Breaking Point and Wildlands, Far Cry, Sniper Elite, The Division, just to name a few. I am extremely lucky to be currently working remotely from Paris, France for the year. Otherwise, I'm usually based out of Ottawa. I'm pleased to be joining this panel today for this esports event.
Marie, wow, you're a total shooter game. That's amazing. Good stuff. That's really neat. It's not often you hear that, so very cool. Lots of credibility there. Okay, Jeorg from Conestoga College. Could you give us your intro, please?
Morning. I'm Jeorg Dallemeier. I'm the Associate Vice President of Information Technology and Systems at Conestoga College.
All right, and now James, over to you from Dell Technologies.
Thank you very much. So great to be here. James Scott, I'm the Field Chief Technology Officer for Dell Technologies in Canada. I'm based here in Ottawa. This is combining two of my favorite topics. My background is in IT security, originally from the UK, doing a lot of work in the government space. I have been playing video games since before I can remember. Most recently, I'm probably spending far too much time playing Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, for anyone that's played that franchise. Huge Zelda fan. I remember, I think most recently, one of my fondest memories, though, is playing Destiny with a group of individuals from across North America, and I just find gaming a great way to meet new individuals. So thank you for the opportunity. It's great to be here.
You guys are awesome. Okay, that was really cool. Great intro. I love it. All right, so let's dig into some of the questions. So Marie, why don't you kick us off and share from a government perspective, what are the most common cybersecurity risks facing post-secondary esports teams, the players, and how might they be mitigated?
Of course. As many sectors, gamers and esports events have seen an increase in cyber attacks. This is a profitable and booming industry, and cyber threat actors have been taking notice. Esports teams and players need to be aware of three main attack vectors that are on the rise. These attack vectors are distributed denial of service, what we call DDoS attacks, phishing, and ransomware tactics. Once you understand how these are conducted, you can better protect yourself online and ensure your in-game currencies and assets, as well as your account information, don't end up on the dark web or in the hands of the wrong people. Keeping in mind that no strategies for cybersecurity is completely foolproof. But like with putting winter tires on your car during the cold winter months, there are steps you can take to lessen the risks. The primary risk is DDoS, which is prevalent in gaming. DDoS is an attack in which multiple compromises systems are used to attack a single target. The flood of incoming messages to the target system attacks your IP address and floods your bandwidth, forces it to shut down, and denies service to legitimate users or gamers. In gaming, you will see this, for example, if a bad player wants to retaliate against another player to manipulate the game to their advantage. For example, if you are in the middle of a campaign and you have the highest score on the board, when all of a sudden your system completely shuts down, you're unable to rejoin before the end of the match, and that would be terrible. You can protect yourself from DDoS attacks by using a VPN, a virtual private network. This encrypts your internet traffic and protects your online identity. Regularly run virus and malware scanners using trusted software. Conduct patches and updates to your devices and games. If you're a victim of a DDoS attack, you will need to reboot your network completely. The social engineering tactics of phishing is also very popular, and no one is immune to it. Phishing is when a cybercriminal attempts to get your sensitive info by pretending to be a legitimate sender. They send you personalized targeted messages, which is spear phishing, or forge websites, which is spoofing. Phishing is the third most common scam affecting Canadians today. If a deal seems too good to be true, it is. Don't take the bait. Do not click on links that other players may be sending or posting in game chat, as it may be a phishing attempt. If you accidentally interact with the malicious link or email, remain calm and follow these actions. First thing first, don't panic. Stop using your device. Disable your Wi-Fi or disconnect your network cables so that the device cannot communicate with the internet. Power off your device. Change your password. Scan the device using anti-malware software if possible. Restore your network connections only if you believe you have cleaned your system. Perform any available updates or security patches on your device. And finally, monitor your accounts regularly for suspicious activity. Finally, ransomware is another popular tactic, which essentially takes your device and data hostage in exchange for ransom and payment. To get the ransom on your computer or device, cybercriminals trick you into downloading a program that looks legitimate, which is actually malware. But what you're really downloading is a piece of software designed to take control of your information so you can no longer access it. There are two common types of ransomware, which is lock screen ransomware, which displays an image that prevents you from accessing your computer. And then there's encryption ransomware, which encrypts files on your system hard drive, and sometimes on shared network drives, USB drives, external hard drives, cloud storage drive, preventing you from opening them. The easiest step you can take to protect yourself from ransomware attacks is as simple as avoiding suspicious downloads, regularly backing up your files, and keeping your OS updated.
Wow, Marie, that is fantastic. First of all, thank you so much for sharing what some of the actual issues are, but then also the ways that our esports players can protect themselves. That's super helpful. Now, James, any response to that?
Point Marie made on phishing is a critical one. Across all industries, I'm seeing a huge rise in attackers using phishing attacks to try and get into systems to extract information. So the idea of really paying attention to the links that you click on, regardless of where those links come, via email, via in-game chat, I think is a really important point and something everyone needs to think about, regardless of the environment you're in. I do think when you're when you're in the middle of a game, it's a little bit more of a different environment to when you're maybe checking your emails, and people tend to get a bit more relaxed. So attackers know this. I think it's a great point to think about those links wherever they're coming from, whatever environment you're in. So excellent point.
Stay vigilant, players, stay vigilant. Okay, so James, what are some of the emerging threats and trends in cybersecurity for esports, and how can organizations stay up to date with the latest developments?
So I'll tackle the first part of the question first. I think this is really interesting. It's part of my role to try and stay ahead of what's interesting and what's new. I think there are a few things that are new and maybe just worth bringing up, and it's always relative. But I think fraud relating to in-game currency is a big thing to think about. If you can purchase an item that would give you or the team an advantage, or that would provide monetary value outside of the game, so even if it's just cosmetics, there's a risk that cyber criminals are going to start targeting that currency. And if you're playing a game and you have access to that currency, you become a target of those cyber criminals. So thinking about fraud, thinking about theft, thinking about unauthorized transactions as it relates to that in-game currency is, I think, a really important one. The other area, and I feel like I can't have a discussion recently without talking about AI, is the impact of AI. I want to relate that specific to this lens, though, as it relates to things like AI manipulation. We hear about it all the time. As I said, I can't go a day without talking about generative AI and ChatGPT, but I think just outside of probably what most people already think about, things like aim assistant bots when it comes to giving you a leg up over the competition, or tactical systems that would provide strategic advantages. I do think there's a concern there in terms of using AI to provide guidance in, I'll use RTS as an example, like what is your player doing right now and how can we project the actions that they're going to take to give you an unfair advantage in the game. But when you combine AI manipulation and things like deep fakes, we start to get the ability to create fraudulent videos or audio recordings of players. And I think this is already prevalent in the speedrunning community as it relates to games. And I think there's a concern maybe that as it relates to esports, you can use these tools to create reputation damage, spread false information. So I think thinking about AI's use here. And then the last point I'll echo, and we've already kind of covered this, is just social engineering and phishing attacks. Cyber criminals are getting more and more sophisticated as it comes to how we trick players, coaches, teams into even just disclosing sensitive information. We often tend to think about phishing attacks as it relates to money or trying to take systems offline, but I think there's also a use case here for using it to get team information, strategic data that would give you an advantage over the rest of your competition. I think as it relates to staying up to date, how we keep track of all of this, it's a big ask, but I think a lot of the standard security awareness training is very relevant. I don't think it has to be specific to esports, to be fair. Proactive steps, I think, come from the platforms themselves, the hosting tools, the game developers, making it easier to detect signs of in-game tampering, signs of fraud, taking in-game currency fraud seriously, which, to be fair, I think most of them do, either because of the financial angle or because it starts to cause an unbalance in the game. We've already seen this. We saw Blizzard remove the gold and the real money auction house from Diablo a couple of years ago. And I think that kind of consideration is only going to grow.
Now, over to Jeorg. So Jeorg, what has Conestoga College done to establish and maintain successful esports program while ensuring cybersecurity and data privacy?
Question. One of the approaches that we've taken at Conestoga is really around, a purposeful building of these spaces. And so what we've done is, as we were planning the design for our initial esports hub, we made sure to account for separate networking and separate technology infrastructure within that space. So we've actually introduced a separate and standalone internet service specifically for our gaming services within the esports hub. And so what that allows us to do is segregate the esports environment within its own bubble inside of our campus. So there's a couple of benefits to that. One, as we were building out that space, we realized that the needs specifically around gaming and broadcasting and streaming related to gaming required us to allow certain traffic and the opening of ports that we typically wouldn't have within our academic campus spaces. And so by having that separate internet service and a separate set of firewalls, we were able to tune the security around those services to specifically match the needs that were required as part of our esports facility. There can also be some performance benefits by isolating your e-gaming spaces. Streaming, broadcasting related to game streaming, for example, can be quite bandwidth intensive. So by having that dedicated internet pipe, we're able to ensure that day-to-day academic or campus operations are not negatively impacting the bandwidth or internet needs of the e-gaming space, and vice versa. Any loads or traffic generated by our e-gaming facility is not going to negatively impact our campus or academic operations. In terms of operating our esports facility, we recognized early on that this would be a space where we would have a lot of interaction with the community, whether that would be, hosting gaming tournaments, having open houses, having family and friend events potentially. And so we wanted to ensure that the ability to offer services for guests could be managed directly by the esports management team. And so we've introduced 2 wireless networks within our e-gaming space. We've extended our campus network into that area. So faculty, staff, and students can, freely browse and walk through that space and still have regular connectivity through their wireless devices. But we also offer a separate and independent guest Wi-Fi that again is connected back to that independent internet service for the e-gaming facility that allows the staff to provide guest access for events, tournaments, or members of the community that may not be faculty, staff, or students. Additionally, what we've been able to facilitate is a bring your own identity into our e-gaming spaces. And so students are able to walk into our esports hub. They're able to, through a single sign-on integration with our gaming partner and platform vendor, they're able to bring their college account, including the requirements for multi-factor authentication, into that gaming space.
Oh, wow. That was super helpful, Jeorg. Now, Marie, would you like to build upon Jeorg's response?
Yes, happy to add on to what Jeorg has already mentioned, but I'll start by addressing the cybersecurity component of the first part of the question. Considering cybersecurity from the outset is a massive win. Cybersecurity is as strong as its weakest link, which compromises and successful cyber attacks often come from human unintentional actions or a known vulnerability on the system. So it is important to create the systems and esports lab environments with cybersecurity in mind and ensure participants have strong cyber hygiene. As Jeorg mentioned, and Conestoga College has done, is one of the main steps on the IT side, would be to segregate the esport network from its institution networks. If there is a breach, it is more easily contained. On the participant side, raising general awareness about cybersecurity is also a strong strategy, not only with esports player, but across the whole institution, including staff, students, and parents. With so much post-secondary education occurring online, it is essentially that all students know the basics of cybersecurity and how to protect themselves and their work. Both institution and the participants should update all system, games, device frequently. Reported cases of data breach incidents continue to rise as threat actors and cybercriminal groups increasingly take advantage of gaps in many organization data security management strategies. Data exfiltration is a tactic used by cyber threat actors to accomplish their objectives, such as data theft, financial extortion and gain, and service disruption. Data exfiltration attacks occur in various forms, including data espionage, user system credential theft, financial data theft, digital identity compromise, and data de-anonymization. To protect against these attacks, organizations should secure their data lifecycle process, for example, creation, operation, and destruction from end to end. Phishing, malware, ransomware is an insider threat can lead to data exfiltration event. For example, a sophisticated threat actor can use spear phishing and malware attacks to infiltrate an organization's network to exfiltrate data. For example, payment information, personal data. The best recommendations I can provide gamers with to protect their data privacy would be, don't save your payment information. Even if it's legitimate sites or apps, you shouldn't save your information when asked to. While it might take you a little bit more time to put in your credit card number, it's better than taking the risk of your information being stolen by cyber criminals if they hack into your favorite app or store. Secure your network and browsing. Use a secure Wi-Fi network and browse safely by looking for websites beginning with HTTPS. These sites use encryption policies to protect your information, and they can keep your information secure. You should also look for the green lock symbol in the address bar. This means that the website traffic is being encrypted. Cyber criminals can steal your data through unsecured public Wi-Fi networks, like your local coffee shop's Wi-Fi. This is why we recommend using a virtual private network, VPN, to encrypt your data and prevent it from being compromised. And finally, secure your accounts with multi-factor authentication, MFA. As Jeorg mentioned previously, whenever it's available on your accounts and devices, you should apply it as it adds an additional layer of security. MFA can stop cyber criminals from accessing your accounts, even if they do manage to get a hold of your passwords. MFA is a combination of what you know, such as a PIN, password, a security question, what you have, such as a fob or another device, or what you are, such as your face, voice, or thumbprint. I know it's an extra step to get you into your accounts, but those 10 extra seconds will help protect your accounts. Thank you.
Brilliant. Those are very practical strategies that everybody can utilize to keep themselves and their accounts safe. So thank you very much, Marie, for that. James. Okay, so Marie, how can education and awareness raising initiatives help players and organizations better understand the importance of cybersecurity and take proactive steps to protect themselves?
Great question. So everyday Canadians at large are being targeted by cyber criminals, including gamers, students, and higher education institutions. It's high time we advocate cybersecurity hygiene for the masses. More than half, 54% of Canadians say they spend more than 5 hours online per day in 2022, which is up from just 36% in 2016. And these stats have been taken from CIRA's 2022 Canada's Internet Factbook. This is just to show you how much we are all connected to our devices. One of the main concerns surrounding gaming security is that cybercriminals do not discriminate when it comes to age of the victims. They frequently target very young gamers at home looking for a cheap game expansion, or a cool skin, and can be easy targets. By equipping players and organizations with cybersecurity knowledge through education at all levels, we are empowering those who use these systems to also protect the systems and understand how to protect themselves. Additionally, cybersecurity relies on human action. As users, we must take proactive choices and our best judgment to protect our systems from attacks. Social engineering is a method of obtaining sensitive information, such as your personal information, that relies on a manipulation of legitimate users. By educating players, we can help teams and organizations be a harder target for these cyber criminals. There are many free resources and tools available to academic institutions to help educate their communities about cybersecurity and best practices. Institutions can visit our website at cyber.gc.ca or getcybersafe.gc.ca for a wide range of resources and even Cyber Month awareness activity packages. Here are some tips we can all benefit from, both gamers and non-gamers alike. So protect your accounts with MFA whenever possible. Use a unique, strong password for each of your accounts. Always use robust antiviruses. CIRA Canadian Shield, which CIRA and the Cyber Center have created, protects your personal devices from malware and phishing with a free public DNS made exclusively for users in Canada, and it's completely free to all Canadians. Download your games and apps from official stores only. If your desired title is not available from the official store, purchase it from the official website only. Double check the URL of the website to make sure that it's authentic and not spoofed. Avoid buying the first thing that pops up. Investigate products and read the reviews carefully. Beware of phishing campaigns. Do not open links received by email or in-game chat unless you trust the sender. Do not open files from strangers. Carefully check the address of any website asking for your username and password, as it might be fake or spoofed. Avoid downloading cracked software or other illegal content, even if its legitimate website directs you to it. And keep your operating system and softwares up to date. And for more tricks and tips, you can visit the Get Cyber Safe website for some easy and fun content on the subject.
Again, I love those easy to do strategies that you're sharing. You're making it as easy as possible for players to be safe by putting it all up on the Cyber Center website. So thank you very much for that, Marie. James, would you like to add on to that one? What are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll echo the comments about starting the training early. Kids are getting into gaming, kids are getting into online gaming, I think at a much earlier age now. So starting the training, making them aware of, just very basic cybersecurity practices, I think is really, really important. Marie's comment about multi-factor authentication, please, especially on your email systems, that's where those password reset options and links will end up. So if your email doesn't have multi-factor authentication, MFA, please go and do that right now, today. That's one of the most basic and easiest steps you can do. I've seen some of this firsthand. I got 2 young kids. One of the first online games they started getting into was Roblox, and very early on, they're asking for Robux, they're asking to get more in-game currency, and my son had a pop-up notification about how to earn Robux easily, and all he had to do was log in with his Robux account onto this obviously malicious site. Wasn't obvious to him. So getting them thinking about what are these links trying to do. No one's going to give, if it's too good to be true, it is too good to be true. And again, even if that had gone through, the first thing I'd done is set up multi-factor authentication on his login, so I got the pop-up code. But not everyone is doing that. So I think multi-factor authentication is critical to stop some of those scams pretty early on, especially if you've got young children.
Can I just ask, what was that saying again? You said, Marie, don't take the bait.
That is correct. Don't take the bait. If a deal is too good to be true, it is.
I love that tagline. Don't take the bait. All right. So now, James, let's dig a little deeper around privacy and security of the players. What are some of the ethical considerations around using data and analytics to monitor player behavior and prevent cheating? And how can these be balanced with player privacy and rights?
So I'm a technologist. I love technology, but I do always find these ethical discussions really interesting. I think specifically here, when it comes to using data and data analytics to monitor behavior, detect signs of cheating, there's a need to balance that, the need to maintain a level playing field, and the integrity of the sport has to be balanced out with the need for player privacy and player rights. And there are obvious things here, like please make sure you have informed consent and transparency. You need to ensure the players are informed about the collection, about the storage, about the use of their data for those monitoring purposes. Again, I think we'd all agree it's necessary, but you need to have transparency there just to make sure you're building trust. So you make it very clear from day one in the communication what the purpose, what the scope, what the duration of that data collection and that data monitoring is all about. At the same time, I think fairness and equality in the monitoring is also critical. You have to make sure that those monitoring and those enforcement tools, those rules, are applied fairly and equally to all of the players. You need to make sure you're avoiding bias, unintentional or otherwise, at trying to cause any discriminatory behavior You want to avoid singling out any specific individual or any specific team for monitoring or more enhanced monitoring. Apply evenly across the board to everyone that takes part, and make sure there's an avenue for players to appeal or contest any of those monitoring findings, and certainly any penalties that you're applying. To me, though, one of the critical things here is also ensuring that our data is used for its intended purpose. And I think this is true across all sports, not just esports. That data that's being collected as part of their monitoring activities to prevent cheating is incredibly valuable data. Now, if we're just talking about the standard stream that everyone would have access to, you can argue that's less of an issue. If Team A ends up analyzing the stream from Team B after the fact, I don't think that's any different to any sport. You want to understand how the competition would act under different situations, pick up common strategies, things like that. But if at the back end, you're collecting more information or more precise information from the back end servers, you've got monitoring tools installed on the participants' machines, now you have a responsibility to ensure that that data is not used for any other purposes. This clearly depends on the game and the type of data you're collecting, but you need to make sure that's not exploited for other purposes. To my previous point, it's not used without consent. That's data that could be incredibly useful. It's useful marketing data for game development companies. It's useful tactical data for other teams as it comes to getting hold of that data, legitimately or otherwise. But that's not the purpose for which that data was collected, and unless you're transparent about it, unless you ask for permission to do that, that's not the purpose under which that data was collected. So I think thinking about this, applying those rules equally to everyone, and again, transparency, just make it clear to the players what data you're collecting and why it's being collected, and don't use it for any other purpose.
Well, Marie, did you want to respond to anything that James mentioned?
Yes, I just want to add one more thing to what James mentioned. One of the things to consider is when we talk about companies to be transparent, it's also about being transparent of where the data is being hosted or kept, because it's not every country that has the same laws regarding data. And if it's outside of Canada, there's nothing Canada can do if there are issues. So that's something else to consider, and where companies should be transparent and read your fine prints when you accept the conditions of game user.
That's a great point. Oh. I was going to say, we have more and more online cloud gaming. So where those servers are actually hosted, where those tools are being run from, is not always clear or obvious. So yeah, great point on data storage.
So we really have to be encouraging everyone, our esports players as well as the masses, to really check those T's and C's, really understand where the data is going to be hosted. We want to keep people safe. Okay, wonderful. So Marie, in what ways can the esports industry collaborate with higher education institutions to promote cybersecurity awareness and foster a safe gaming environment?
So I believe that some great opportunities would be for industry, government, and higher education institution to collaborate on awareness campaigns, fun games for learning, and resources for the classroom that would promote cybersecurity awareness and foster a safe gaming environment, because students and gamers are not all aware of the risks and possible threat online. So how can we expect them to protect themselves? For example, the Cyber Center has many free resources and tools available to academic institutions to help reduce their to help educate their communities about cybersecurity and best practices. So we promote cybersecurity best practices through Cyber Month in October, and support academic institutions with their own awareness campaigns as well. Institution can visit our website for a wide range of resources, and that is also applicable to students and parents as well. Having industry and higher education institution create more esport gaming events tailored to specific groups, such as for women, for 2S LGBTQI+, unprivileged or underrepresented groups, will foster a more inviting and safer environment for those who wouldn't necessarily participate, and possibly attract more timid gamers to the esport world. This brings me to my next suggestion as it relates to fostering a safe gaming environment. Cyberbullying is very present in schools as well as online gaming. Industry and higher education institutions can work together on awareness campaigns and providing strategies for gamers to report cyberbullies and how to protect themselves from bullies that may have malicious intent via cyber attacks as a way of harassment. We need to provide all the tools and ways to combat this in the esport world. Finally, I believe that it is crucial for the esport industry, government, and higher education institution to share important information on new cyber criminal tactics, techniques, trends, as well as data on the number of cyber attacks being seen. Every second year, the Cyber Center publishes the National Cyber Threat Assessment, which is a document made public and very accessible in the way it is presented. It contains a lot of great information, which may or may not give you some nightmares. The more you can share and work together against these cyber threat actors, the better we can protect gamers and students.
Wonderful. That's so true. And shameless plug for Breaking Barriers, because we do have an all girls, from young girls to professional Team Liquid players who are on a panel actually after this one. So thank you for queuing that up for us, showing that gaming can be a safe space, but we have to intentionally create that safe space starting in the early elementary years and really making sure that women are welcome in this space. So thank you very much for that, Marie. James, off the cuff, did you want to add anything on to Marie's response?
I'll just echo the comments on cyberbullying. I think it's a really important thing to think about. I think it's, tensions run high when you're playing esports sometimes. That's no excuse. We wouldn't excuse it in any other sport. We shouldn't excuse it in esports, and we shouldn't excuse it in online gaming. I'm a firm believer in that. I don't think saying something versus typing something has any impact. Those are both things that could be considered cyberbullying. We need ways to take it seriously. We need ways to report it. And we can't allow any excuse of, in the heat of the moment to detract from the seriousness of that. So.
Well said. Now, Marie, how can higher education institutions develop partnerships and collaborations with industry leaders in esports and cybersecurity to enhance learning experiences and career opportunities for students? We know not all esports players will be professional esports players, but what career opportunities might they have in the security field?
So we all have the same goals, and it is to ensure that Canadians, such as gamers, to be secure, exercise great cyber security hygiene, and be aware of the risks and possible threats. Plus, on the other hand, we also want to attract new exceptional talent to the cybersecurity field and highlight the career paths available to all, as Canada sees an average of 25,000 unfilled jobs in cybersecurity as hacking activity soars, and the cybersecurity industry is looking to fill, depends on the numbers and the research, but to fill about 3.5 million jobs worldwide in cybersecurity. So I believe that higher education institution can partner with industry and government to collaborate on events and conferences with industry leader speakers, as well as cybersecurity experts discussing specific topics and possible threats to gamers. This could also include the behind the scenes highlights. Who are the content creators of the games, cybersecurity specialists working to secure the networks, event managers having to keep in mind data privacy and put in place cybersecurity and safety protocols and policies, and many more. If gaming is a passion, I'm sure there are some job roles that may be of interest to gamers that they may not even be aware of. With so many technical and non-technical job roles in cybersecurity, there is a variety of wide range of possibilities. Just like your favorite esports team, cybersecurity needs players with different strengths to be successful. Both technical and non-technical players are needed to win. Also, highlighting that soft skills are essential to success in cybersecurity. In fact, soft skills are one of the biggest skills gap in today's talent. The ability to learn and work with others is just as important as your technical skill set. Collaborate in aligning cybersecurity programs with the needs of the industry and GC, and for the programs to be more inclusive. We have a new Canadian Cybersecurity Skills Framework, which is a simpler presentation of cybersecurity work represented within many private and smaller public sectors organization. The purpose of this framework is to help better guide workforce development stakeholders in addressing the cybersecurity skills deficits. It can be applied across public, private, or academic sectors for career awareness, development, education, training, recruitment, or even workforce planning. And finally, co-developing awareness material for gamers of all ages and how to play safely online. I strongly believe that there are many ways in which we can help enhance learning experience and career opportunities for students.
So we have an incredible viewing audience right now. We have esports players, we have families, friends, etc., watching this. If you were to give some advice to some students who might be interested in pursuing a career in cybersecurity, what might you suggest as their first steps to get started down this pathway?
So as you may see on the screen, there are some slides with some resources, useful resources. We do have a career guide. We do have material for students. We also, the Cyber Center hosts or attends career events at universities and colleges across Canada. You can reach out to us. I will put the link to my team's address, website. And there's just a lot of content, and that's exactly what my team does. So there are multiple webinars that we've hosted about introducing cybersecurity careers and women in cyber. But yeah, the importance is to know that there are so many ways, whether you're studying in international policy, law, arts, there's a need for you in cybersecurity. You would be quite impressed as to all the possibilities that are out there.
Okay, everyone, great panel. This has been incredibly enlightening, as well as lots of practical strategies and things for us to be really thinking about, especially around that cyberbullying piece. That has really resonated with me, how we have to make sure that we're addressing that as well. We've come to the end of this panel, and I would like for each of you to provide the viewing audience with your final thoughts. What are your key takeaways that you want every viewer to know around esports and cyber and avoiding the hack? Marie, let's start with you.
I would say, as my last words for this event, not in life, if a deal seems too good to be true, it is. Just don't take the bait. If there's one thing you can take out of this and just have this at the back of your mind when you're about to click on the link, remember this.
Have you back. Okay, so James, over to you. What are your final words for our viewing audience?
So I would say I'd love to see more of this. This idea of conducting cybersecurity training, cybersecurity workshops at esports events, at tournaments, I think would be incredibly useful. I think these sessions help raise awareness. I think hopefully we've provided some practical tips. And I think there are some specific concerns that relate to esports, that relate to players, that relate to the organizations. Yeah, more of this at tournaments and at events, I think would be fantastic.
Wonderful. Well, great advice throughout this panel. So thank you so much to Marie, James, and Jeorg. And we wish everybody in our viewing audience a great exhibition. Game on, everyone. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Thank you.
Dun, 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 dun. We're done.